Yeah, so it's kind of true. Overwhelm spikes, stress spikes on business and marriage and family and life because sometimes it just doesn't always go right. But we have some good news for you today. Sales Ascender and FlowChat fam, hey, thank you for joining us with this spotlight series here that we're going through where, listen, we're talking to real people, getting real results, and they're on the front lines, just like you, just like me, when it comes to business, when it comes to life, when it comes to marriage, and specifically life, marriage, family, all the things, and being an entrepreneur. That's kind of the direction we're going together today, which is why we have our fellow FlowChat members, Cory and Jojo. Hey, how's it
Hey
going?
guys.
Hey, what's up, Chris? Thanks for
Hey.
having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for you guys to be here. I know, just like all of us entrepreneurs, you have a million things going on. We're going to get into
Yes.
some of those specifically here, but there's this. We're talking about overwhelm today, how communication crushes that, and you guys are, I think, no, I don't think I know, a really powerful example of that. Not just because of the values you place, but how you implement those values and how you show up. So for everyone else, this is important for everyone to know. Cory and Jojo were actually the very first episode
Yes.
of the Spotlight. So you are also the first second time guest, and that was
Yay.
that was a year ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, that must have been a year
September of
ago.
last year, something
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
we have
We were
grown
just yeah.
significantly since then, and what we have to
Send us
share
some
with you has
updates. What's
grown.
going on?
And
Yeah.
well, first of all, that last year we've used FlowChat and Sales Ascender method to really dive deep into our business, clarify some of our messaging, and now we have niched down to Christian entrepreneurs who are married, and a lot of my focus is with the men, with the fathers, because I have been a foster parent for 30 children. I have 4 children that I've adopted, one that should be adopted later this year. And so I've had a lot of opportunity to see entrepreneurs not show up like they need to at home. And so I'm working a lot with the men to help them show up better at home. And JoJo's helping overwhelmed wives and spouses of entrepreneurs really make sure that
Yes.
families are thriving. Because what good is a thriving business if you leave your family behind? It's not good at all.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's it. That's it. Jojo, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I love working with the mamas, the wives, because most of the time these awesome entrepreneurs are doing their best to provide for the family, and they love their family so much. But that wife is hiding in the pantry, eating chocolate or something else because the kids are driving them crazy, or crying because they feel overwhelmed and they feel alone. Because although the entrepreneur is trying so hard to provide for their family and their intentions are in the right place, the wife sometimes isn't able to communicate her feelings, and the husband isn't able to communicate his feelings.
And non-entrepreneur friends just don't understand, so she
Yes.
feels quite lonely at some times.
Yes. And they both feel alone because let's face it, being an entrepreneur, that's like one of the loneliest rides you got. But then being a mom to an entrepreneur or a wife to an entrepreneur, that's another lonely ride. And so together we bridge it and we make it all work.
There you go. Easily, yeah, well said, easily said, and also a little bit harder to do, but not
Yes.
impossible. Not impossible.
Right.
You guys do a great job of bringing fresh perspective. Sometimes, this is really powerful. It's just hearing other people living it, walking it, and just talking about it. You're like, oh yeah, that is good, and I am going to do that. Sometimes that's all that's needed, and
Yes.
everyone listening, watching today, hey, that's exactly what you're going to get. And let us know in the comments if are you entrepreneur? Are you married? Is your spouse? Here's a simple question: is your spouse in the business with you or not a part of the business?
Yes.
With you in the business or not a part of the business with you? For your guys' dynamic, I know it's a little bit of both. Jojo, you're involved to some level.
Yes.
For myself, Beth, I call her B. She's not a part of the business directly, but family, everything, she's helping out a ton. And when I talk about business, she just like physically melts. She's like, I'm sorry, like I love you, but this is just so boring. I'm not into
Which is
it.
most wives. Most of us
Yeah.
are like, I love that you have a dream, but are you providing for me and are you happy? That's all we care. That's all we care.
Keeps it simple. So let's talk about communication and how that makes a world of difference. So, you mentioned the closet situation, multitasking of crying and consuming chocolate, or some version of that. And then, meanwhile, entrepreneurs dominating, conquering the world, with good intentions. Where does the communication start?
Yeah. So I think one of the best ways, I'm going to back up just a little bit. So if you think about your day, which most entrepreneurs have, they're either downstairs, upstairs, they're in an office, or they drive somewhere to go to do their work, right? Meanwhile, the wife is either home or maybe she's working too. But if she has kids, she's usually home and she's with those kids, right? She may be homeschooling, she may be doing whatever. The second that entrepreneur comes home or walks upstairs or whatever he needs to do, she usually will probably say, how was your day? That right there is the first trigger of, I need emotional connection right here, right now. And so a lot of the time, the entrepreneur will say, my day was fine. How was yours? And she will say, my day was fine too, except, and she may list a lot of tantrums, right?
Yeah.
Does it sound familiar, Chris? Maybe it does. Just kidding.
Oh, we're fine. Well, we're all fine.
Right?
Great. Let's have dinner.
Right. But meanwhile, like if you think about it, the entrepreneur, he has this thing that he's been occupied all day, right? He's been talking to multimillionaires. He's been like improving himself all day. The wife is also trying to improve herself too, and the rest of the family all day long. But a lot of the time, that emotional connection that they used to have kind of breaks off because they live two separate lives, right? The business takes over and he's got his stuff that he's working on. She's got her stuff that she's working on, and there's no bridge there. So didn't mean to go backwards, but I think it's important
that's perfect because in that scenario, both can be a hard day. But if you think about the entrepreneur, they are doing things that really lights them on fire, fulfilling, being creative, communicating with people, serving. A mom is doing all of that, communicating, serving, but her people
are not
often can't communicate back.
Yes.
And she's not doing things that light her on fire other than having that time with her children. Changing diapers is not exciting for a mother. Cleaning up all the dishes, doing all the laundry. And when you have 5 young children, it never stops. And so all those things that the mom might experience, those make for a hard day that oftentimes she doesn't tell you how hard the day is. And she's so selfless and just so amazing. I can say this, and I know Chris's wife is quite amazing too. So I can say that the women in our life are so amazing, and they just love 100%. And they want us to be fulfilled, and they want to serve us so much that they sometimes hold their emotions in. And so I think the conversation starts with having an understanding of what each other struggled with that day.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Having that daily communication is huge.
Yeah. And I think the biggest point, because if let's say the entrepreneur comes home and he says, how was your day? And she says, oh, it was okay. And then he were to say, what was one thing you struggled with? Then that might actually open up that conversation for her. And she'd be like, oh my gosh, emotional connection. Let's do this, And then same thing for the entrepreneur. Let's face it, it's a lonely ride. We know this. Imposter syndrome. We're talking to people all day long. Yeah. We are trying to improve ourselves. Well, we're trying not to compare ourselves to others. But let's be real, entrepreneurship is a very, you don't turn your brain off. It's constantly going, and most people don't think like you. And so if your spouse was to ask you, like your wife was to say, hey, Chris, how was your day? And you said, oh, I struggled in this. She would be able to either, one, give you advice if you wanted it, or two, she'd be able to be that listening ear. So it's a two-way street, and it bridges both gaps. And it's the same for if you said, hey, B, how was your day? What was a struggle for you? And if she were to say, oh, the tantrums were awful today, then maybe you could say, oh, okay, well,
pizza
how about
night.
You could either say pizza night, or how about I go take the kids to the park, or I go do reading with them, or something that she needs to have done for them or with them. And then she can have alone time. She can go take a bubble bath. She can go out with girlfriends. She can do whatever she needs to do. But then you're serving her, depending on whatever her love language is. You want to try to apply that love language. But you're serving her, but you're also opening up the communication, and you're opening up the emotional connection. So things that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle in, those 3 areas right there get solved by one little quick question. What did you struggle with today?
Man, I can give you quite a little trick. If you feel like your intimacy is not as frequent or as often as you want, if your connection with your wife is not strong, or your wife does not feel emotionally connected, that intimacy is never going to increase.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start to connect more on an emotional level, and you really start to make sure your wife's needs are met, she becomes more available. She becomes more willing, more interested to give you the attention, both physical, emotional intimacy that you desire. So if you want to increase in your intimacy, connect with your spouse at a more intimate emotional level, and that will be a great starting point. That'll be like the golden ticket in chocolate in the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. Got the golden ticket.
Love it, the golden ticket. Hey, Ron, appreciate your comment here. Great point. and interview topics today. Hey, so Cory and Joji are off to a great start. Thanks, Ron, for watching, listening, and everyone else watching, listening. Hey, smash the like button. Give Cory and Jojo some love if you've experienced these things, if this is real
Yeah.
to you, and because it is. Like I know I'm not the only one. I know Cory and
Nope.
Jojo, you guys aren't the only ones that are going through this entrepreneurial and marriage dynamic. It's yeah, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's got a little bit of a feel to it. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes, just like anything else, it takes time, love, focus, energy for something to grow. And the question is, where is all that going? Because where it goes, it'll grow. Um,
Yeah.
so we're covering marriage. We covered the golden ticket, which is great. Let's switch over to your guys's business a little bit. So give us some updates since the last time we talked. I mean, you have a logo for one now, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, we've been coaching, I think you already know this, but we have been coaching couples for our whole marriage, which 13, almost 14 years. But we didn't do
Congrats.
it on
Past the
purpose.
decade mark.
Right? Woo! Yeah. But we didn't do it on purpose. Like, people would just come to us. And because my passion was marriage counseling, as a little child, I had always analyzed relationships. And so I always was like, when I was a kid, I put them in good or bad relationships. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, right? Like, there's there's different areas of every relationship. But
Sure.
So we started coaching, and then we found that entrepreneurs kept coming to us. And this is when we ran across you, Chris, was that entrepreneurs kept coming to us and asking us like questions for their relationship. But what we found was that corporate American marriages are 100% different than entrepreneurial marriages. So people that work their 9 to 5, they think differently. We all know this, right? Entrepreneurs were just different. And so you can't take a corporate American marriage and put them necessarily in one of our programs, because we work specifically with entrepreneurs, because we think differently. Corporate American marriages go to marriage counseling, right? Who do we go to for businesses? We go to marriage coaches, or we go to business coaches, right? For business. And so what we do is we restructured. And another thing that we found was that if we were able to work with the entrepreneur first and help them restructure their time balance, the things that were only entrepreneur
The overwhelm
specific,
of the business that
exactly
is creeping over into the family. Because
yeah,
most entrepreneurs, if you have a conversation with them, tell me about why you started your business. Oh, I wanted X, Y, and Z for my family. I wanted time freedom. I wanted financial freedom. I just wanted to provide in a way that my job wasn't allowing me to do. Something to that is what most entrepreneurs will say, or at least that's a partial reason, their why behind their business. But that's not often what entrepreneurs get, especially early entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that are in the growth phase where they're building a team or they're scaling. They work so hard in their business and their family becomes second place on accident. And that is a terrible space to be. And so these entrepreneurs, they work so hard. One more call, one more launch, one more this, one more that.
30
and
more minutes.
when there's one more this or 30 more minutes in the business, that means there's less of that in the family. That's one more youth activity that you are missing for your children, one school event, one dinner with your family. And so we work in our business with these entrepreneurs that are overwhelmed. And the progression that we've had over the last 2 years is we've started working with all entrepreneurs. We started working with entrepreneurs that were close to divorce. We started working, but now we work with Christian entrepreneurs who have good relationships that the business has taken over. And that has been so fulfilling, because ultimately our goal in everything that we do is to help children be raised in a 2-parent household. Because of our experience through foster care, the 30 children that have been in our home, we've seen a lot of either entrepreneurs or just families in general where a father hasn't been present, or the children don't know both parents, or a broken home, or things of that nature. And if we can build a stronger marriage, we can build better parent and child bonds. We can build stronger sibling bonds, and we can just build better environments for children to have confidence, to learn and grow and become more. And so that is ultimately what we are doing in our business. We've had tremendous growth, especially with FlowChat, and just the ability to use FlowChat and the VAs to free up my time to be more with my family, but to help you have more time with your family too. Sometimes it's not about more as far as the time on the clock. Sometimes it's about more in the quality and the intention of the time. And that's what we help a lot of entrepreneurs do. We may not get them more time with their family, but we get them better time. And often the better time will also lead to more time. And so that's the balance that we help with overwhelmed entrepreneurs that are struggling that don't need to.
And on top of that, we get the wife involved too once the business portion is under control, because with the four main cracks that we found that corporate America doesn't really have, we have business cracks in our relationships. We have marital cracks in our relationship, which is like intimacy and like connection, that type of thing. And then we have home cracks, which is another thing that marriage counseling doesn't teach you. And that's like parenting. That's like responsibilities. Let's face it, when a lot of us became entrepreneurs, a lot of our household things, our roles that we used to have, went out the window. Maybe your wife takes out the trash now and she never did a few years ago, right? Or something like that. Maybe that she does all the bedtime routines now where she used to get help with that, you know? And so we work with, and then the other crack is the individual. And with individual, that's like imposter syndrome. That's,
Mindset.
mindset.
That's personal growth.
So we work with the entrepreneur on those two cracks first, is the personal and the business. And then from there, we bring the spouse in and we bring up, okay, so where are we lacking in communication? What do we need to do in connection? What do we need to do there? How is our parenting? What do we need to, and so we put these four cracks together, but we separate them into their own buckets. So that way it's not overwhelming. That way it is a fix. It's a permanent fix, and it changes. It's the mindset of both you guys, and it brings you both together.
Chris, and your question was like, tell us about the business. One thing about the business that really breaks my heart is that entrepreneurs are so driven, and that's not the part that breaks my heart, but entrepreneurs are so driven.
I was like, wait, what?
I had to be clear, so I'll get there. But entrepreneurs are so driven. They solve so many problems, and they're so incredible, and they do not settle for average in the business. But why do they settle for average in the home?
Yeah.
And that is the question that breaks my heart, because so many entrepreneurs don't even know it, but they settle for average or mediocre relationships at home because, it's just a season. That's just how it is. I need to do this, my business. And because they fall into a one-day trap, one day, or when things slow down in the business. No, we don't need to play one day. We need to play now.
Yep.
We need to make sure that our attention is in the home first and in the business second. And when that is the order, that is when you will see an acceleration in the growth in the business. You might be able to grow if you're out of order, but you'll grow with more success. You might see entrepreneurs who, this next revenue, and then they hit that revenue and they're not happy. It's because they haven't built the foundations or given their relationships at home the attention that they need oftentimes. And so that is what breaks my heart, that entrepreneurs don't have to settle for average in their home, because they won't ever do it in the business.
Can I just share a quick story real fast?
Please.
So we were working with a couple who's amazing, by the way. So after we had shifted from the divorce line to healthier couples, we had this couple come to us, and they were amazing in every single way. He was starting his business and he was making about $0, right? And his wife was supporting them, right? They didn't have kids, but they were supporting each other. And they kept having these cracks in the relationship where they would fight over the business, right? Like, what entrepreneur has not fought over the business with their non-entrepreneur spouse, right? Because the non-entrepreneur spouse, she just doesn't get it a lot of the time because she doesn't live that life. It's a different passion for her. She has different passions. And so they would butt heads on these things. But as soon as we were able to get the emotional connection, like to bridge their communication, he was able to get 10K months. And it wasn't in a long period of time either. It was within 8 weeks. Like, it was fast because they were able to communicate what his needs were, what her needs were, and they were able to bridge that. And so they were both being supportive to each other.
When he got the support he desired and needed from home, he found a new belief in himself that just accelerated his business. And those that he served, his clients, benefited so much more. This individual deals with podcasting, and
it's amazing.
The quality of the podcast increased, the rankings for new podcast reach, because he found his superpower that was smushed when he didn't have the support at home. And so it was hidden. But as he was able to pull that out, his business accelerated, and it accelerated lots of other businesses with powerful podcast. And
And
so that was really cool.
And it went vice versa. Like she was able to feel supported because she knew that there were cutoff times and they were able to communicate. When am I going to see you? And when am I not going to see you? When is work hours? When is not work hours? They put organization into it.
So if you're not where you want,
yeah,
if you're not where you want to be in your business currently, turn and evaluate where do you stand at home and make some adjustments there first.
Yeah.
Such a powerful perspective, because not everyone voices that perspective loudly and clearly, and they certainly don't communicate it the way you guys do. You guys have a very unique and special way of communicating that and encouraging other people to actually go that direction and focus on it, but also see and then experience the value of it. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
So what are some helpful what to do and valuing that's very clear. What are some guardrails? Maybe you are, someone's doing well and things are healthy, but they're starting to slip a little bit. I mean, do you just look at the calendar? Do you, like what are the guardrails that you put in place to kind of hone it in and keep it there consistent?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that you can do is sit down with your wife, or if you are the female entrepreneur, then sit down with your husband. But for us, we specifically talk to the men first, or to the husbands that are entrepreneurs first. But if that is you, the first thing that you can do is ask your wife, what's hard for you? Adjust that. If what's hard for her is that she never sees you, she feels like you're gone all the time, even though you're sitting in the same home all day long, then fix that. If it's a calendar issue, then say, okay, let's put a date night on our calendar, because a lot of entrepreneurs think, oh, I'm dating my wife every week, so we're good. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. How many of us go to bed without our spouse? How many of us eat dinner without our spouse? How many of us, are sitting there in the same room, but we're checking our emails while she's talking to us and telling us about the toddler tantrums all day long, right? It's not true. Just because you're in the same room, same house, doesn't mean you had any sort of communication that day. Doesn't mean that she had that connection. Us females, we need, and every relationship need that emotional connection. It's a must. Like Cory said, it's the only way to our heart, right? Like that's why we married you, because you were different. So let's be different in our homes. And so I think the first thing that you can do as a guardrail, whatever that's called, is to ask your spouse what's hard for you and adjust that.
And that's
That's
a powerful woman perspective. My perspective would be
we're pretty powerful.
If you have a young child, how are they speaking about you as a father on the playground? Are they telling their friends that my dad is so cool? He's always there for me. He's at every sporting event. He helps with my homework. I have the best dad. Or is he telling his friends that your child telling your friends that, oh, my dad's a no-show. He misses every sporting event. He works late. I don't ever get any time with him. He's never spending dinner with us. So that would be kind of the first guardrail. What connection do these entrepreneurs have with their children? How are their children talking about? How do their children believe their connection with their parent, with their father is? That's one guardrail to evaluate, because I'm pretty confident that a lot of entrepreneurs think their connection with their children is much stronger than it actually truly is, or at least they think it's stronger than the children believe that it is. And so evaluate that. How are your children talking about you as a working husband, father, mother, mom? And another guardrail that I would check out is, how frequently are you sharing meals together? How frequently are you going to bed together? And because that is one thing that often slips. I know different couples might have different schedules. One likes to get up early and late and those kind of things. But even if you don't physically go to bed at the same time, but if you have your evening routine, whether that's prayer, scripture study, whether it's some cuddle time, whether it's just conversation, if those things are not happening in the evening, you're probably spending too much time in the business. Or if you haven't at least had a conversation to let your non-entrepreneur spouse know when they can have that time for you. That's probably a good guide rail there too.
And I'd say one more thing. If you and your spouse, if every time, like you had said, Chris, if every time that you talk about the business and your wife is like, oh, not the business again, then there's a sign that she needs something else to talk about. And so find something else to talk about. It's
Oh yeah,
okay.
we definitely talk about something else.
Right? Exactly. But
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, this is so common. All of us entrepreneurs, we like always want to tell our friends, we want to tell everyone about like what's happening in the business. And we are so pumped and so excited. But then when the non-entrepreneur spouse is hearing it and she hears it over and over and over, it as long as she is okay with it, then it's cool, right?
Yeah.
But give
Right.
her an
Right.
opportunity to talk about something other than business on dates. Like if you're talking about business all throughout your date and your spouse is not an entrepreneur, then
Yeah. It doesn't work
there's
out very
another
well.
sign. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And one last guide point is one last
Don't
guide
pull
point
back. Let's
is
go.
as give your non-entrepreneur spouse, this is especially true in a one entrepreneur house or a home where there's two entrepreneurs in different businesses. Invite your spouse to be a part of the business. And what I mean by that is not, hey, you're my new bookkeeper, you're my new fulfillment officer,
Don't give
or
her another
whatever.
job.
But like
Stop
when
that.
I talk about an invitation to be a part of the business, that is okay. What do you do in your business? What launches do you have come up? When are your late days coming up? When are we going to have family time? And because we all have business visions, but a lot of us don't have a family vision. But if we give our spouse an invitation to be involved in the business, whether it's just, okay, I know this is when the stop time is, or a mom could recommend this is how they could be involved in the business. I really am tired by dinner time and 6 o'clock. I need some help from you to get dinner prepared. I need some help from you to get the children in bed, and then you can work after that. If that is the involvement that your spouse wants to have when they need your assistance, when your hard stop time is to stop working in the business and be present for the family, that's significant involvement that would solve a lot of problems if we did just that much alone. Ask your spouse, are you okay with the hours that I'm working? When do you need more help from me? When do you need more support from me as a husband, as a father, as your spouse, and a provider in the home? And when am I okay to be in my all out business mode where I can really provide for the family and increase the revenue and those kind of things? But that conversation needs to happen, and it doesn't happen nearly often enough.
And if you're scaling and you're like, okay, well, I have another launch or I have another challenge, use your words, right? Like we ask our toddlers to use our words all the time, right? No tantrums, please. And so use your words. No tantrums, please, right? We have a lot of toddlers. But the thing is like if you just use your words with your wife, then she knows, oh, you have this thing called a launch that normal people don't have, right? In their 9-to-5s. But this means you have a 2-week period where I will see you probably a little bit less. But after that 2-week period, that means that I'm going to go back to our normal routine where you help me with this, and this. But put that time period in there so she understands like entrepreneurship is its own lonely ride. And I think we all know that.
Shout out to Ron in the chat for the lunch date. Yeah. Get it, Ron.
He's listening. Very good. Very good. Well, hey, everyone listening to this, watching this, if you're leaning in, if this is really resonating with you and you want to keep the conversation going, Cory, Jojo, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah.
Our Facebook group is probably the best. You can message us on Facebook. If you're wanted to schedule a chat, you could go to ourfamilystrong.best. There's a calendar link. You could schedule a chat there, or come play in our Facebook group that's for married entrepreneurs. It's called Strong Business, Stronger Marriage.
Yeah. So it's Strong Business, Stronger Marriage, just in case you didn't catch that, right?
Strong Business, Stronger Marriage Facebook group. Go hang out there. There's other like-minded business owner, entrepreneurial couples that value marriage, value family. And I like your guys' specific passion. I always like at the end to end with the question of why. I mean, it takes a certain person to put themselves out there. If you're an artist, athlete, musician, entrepreneur, there's a certain vulnerability to actually do it well. That's terrifying.
Right.
And you guys are doing that in multiple aspects of life. And it seems that your big why, you actually hit on a little bit earlier in the conversation, and it's creating powerful and healthy homes for kids, because you guys are foster parents of 5 kids currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had 30 over the years. 4 are adopted, and we're in the process of adopting our daughter. Number 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jojo.
I think one of the biggest whys too is on top of the family, we shape the generations, right? So what they see the couples do is what they're going to do in their relationships, right? If they see their parents fighting all the time over business, especially, one, they will never become entrepreneurs because they're like, heck no, I'm not going to do that because that destroys marriages, right? Or if they see a healthy relationship where they talk about business, where they talk about stuff, but they have that healthy relationship where they don't fight over the business, that would encourage them to become entrepreneurs, right? If they wanted to be. But I think it's what you do as a couple shapes your entire family. You either have peace or you have contention, right? We all know the kids are going to fight constantly, right? So why as a couple would we fight constantly, you know? And so if we're shaping the lives of our little ones, then we need to actually shape them. And we need to have healthy boundaries, healthy relationships. And it's okay to floor in our business, right? Like it's a tool. We want businesses to succeed, but we need the family to be the number one succeeding. Because if you were to take your family and you get to the top of the mountain after you're all done scaling and you've reached every accomplishment that you think an entrepreneur should reach, and your wife and your kids are not next to you, then what did you accomplish?
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, and there's so much garbage in the world today. Stress, mental health problems, suicide, hatred, all these things. There's not nearly enough kindness, love, service, compassion, the good things that would bring people closer to Christ or that would want your friends to be there. We need better character in the world, and that's where a lot of our problems could be solved. And if we have better relationships, people are more fulfilled. We are gonna serve more. We're gonna be better. We're gonna do more.
Yeah.
And this hate and this junk that's in the world that is breaking up families doesn't have to be that way. But with stronger relationships become stronger people.
Yeah.
Weak relationships that are falling apart and breaking just repeats the pattern oftentimes. And so we want to build strong, thriving marriages and strong, thriving businesses because entrepreneurs are powerful. They're changing the world. They're the ones that are solving problems. And we want you to solve the problems in your home first and in the business second.
100%. Well said. Well, Cory, Jojo, thank you so much for coming
Thank
and hanging
you.
out with here today.
Awesome. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Sales Ascenders, FlowChat fam, you guys rock. And continue to follow us and watch us on the Spotlight series. We'll keep bringing you real people that are solving real problems on the front lines. In this case, hey, we got a boost by staying aligned in the home. We'll actually get more energy, more focus, more clarity, more support that actually drives real KPIs and results. Because I know we're still always focused on revenue and results to keep playing this game of business. So appreciate you all. We'll see you on the next one.